So I got an email from a fella who asked, what does Ayn Rand's philosophy say about fighting for one's country as a soldier, or about being a police officer and putting oneself in harm's way? In other words, what does Ayn Rand's philosophy say about the morality of putting oneself in a position where one could very easily be killed? Well, at first glance it would seem that the choice to fight and put yourself in harm's way is a choice to die, or a choice to, put your own happiness second and put someone else's happiness first. It looks on the surface as though the soldier who's fighting for freedom, is fighting for the lives of others, sacrificing himself so that others may live. But that is altruistic bafflegab. No rational and good human being expects others to die for them. To die, to sacrifice themselves so that they may live. The first thing to remember about Ayn Rand's philosophy is that it is a philosophy for living life, but not just for living life. It's for living life as a human being, not as a dog, not as a pig, not as a tree. So how can one fail to live life like a human being if one's body is human? Having a human body does not automatically mean that you're living life in a human way. To live life in a human way is to live life the only way that nature allows a human being to survive and to thrive and to become happy. Unlike a tree, a human being doesn't just grow by, passively soaking up water through some roots and being fed food through the ground and receiving energy through sunlight. We aren't passive livers. The human beings also don't survive by living as, for example, birds live. We don't have those instincts to know exactly what to eat, how to eat it, how to react in any given situation. We aren't hardwired so that we always react in roughly the same way in the same situation. Rather, we have this unique ability to assess a situation and to make a decision that might be consistent with living or that might be consistent with dying. Only human beings can choose suicide, and a lot of people frequently do, whether intentionally or not. To live as a human being is to live as a human being, not as a group of human beings who might steal from one another in order to live. But to find out how to live as a human being, look at how a human being lives. A human being lives by being honest with himself about the facts of reality, by applying his rational faculty to determine how to live and pursue happiness given the facts of reality, and chooses only that course of action which will ensure that the person lives rather than dies, pursues happiness rather than misery. That is living as a human being. Now, what about the soldier? On the surface, one might say, aren't you choosing to die for your country? Well, a real soldier doesn't choose to die for anybody. The real soldier chooses to live, and that's why he fights. There are literally irrational people all over the world who believe that the standard of living we have in North America was somehow magically conferred on us, and that we're not entitled to it because it was just luck of the draw that we ended up being born here, and that if anybody was just, moved here without having to change their lifestyle at all, well, then they would be just as happy and just as rich and just as well off. And if we were moved anywhere else, well, we would suddenly become poor and impoverished and unable to survive. Well, that's utter malarkey. The reason that North America is as successful as it is because of the people who live here and the values that they hold. The fact that they're willing to act rationally instead of acting on mysticism or just irrational thoughts. They face the facts of reality, they apply their rationality to the problems of survival, and they sell the results of their productive thought to others who trade in exchange something else of value to the life and happiness of the inventor of the thing that helps everyone else. A North American soldier fights not only to save lives of people in his country, but to ensure that he can continue to live life as a human being. He refuses to live as a farm animal. He refuses to live as someone's slave. He refuses to be murdered so that others can take what he's produced with his own hard work. A North American soldier is fighting not to die for his country, not to die for his fellow man, not to die for the greater good or anything along those lines. A soldier in the free world fights to live and fights to ensure that he can continue to live as a human being, productive, rational, well off, having his liberty, keeping his property, not fearing the gun, but rather seeking the material wealth that allows every person to be happy. The motto of New Hampshire is live free or die. And I believe Rand had identified that slogan or that motto as literally the slogan of the soldier or police officer. The choice to live, the choice to fight to live, is the choice to fight to live as a human being. And to be physiologically alive, but to live life like an animal or a slave, is not to live at all. So the choice to fight, to kill those who would otherwise murder you, enslave you, steal from you, is the choice to live and to live a human life. And those who make that choice, who pick up rifles and bazookas, who fire those mortar rounds into enemy combatants, who drive those tanks, who operate those submarines, who fly those planes, who put those satellites in the air to protect us. Those people have gone above and beyond what 99.9% of us will ever do in the pursuit of life, in the support of life as a human being. When a soldier or police officer dies in the course of carrying out their duties, that death is evidence of just how committed they were to living life as a human being, to living a rational, peaceful, productive life in the pursuit of happiness. We should not praise death. We should not thank anyone for dying. We should thank them for fighting. We should honor them for fighting. We should admire them for fighting. And not just for fighting, but for fighting for life. And not just for life, but for life lived as a human being.